Chapter 5. Battle in the Tree. With flailing limbs, Tiger desperately sought something, anything, with which to break her fall. One of her legs managed to hook over a tiny branch and gave her something to cling to. As she tried to steady herself, she saw two smaller birds squabbling with the one that had just crashed into her. Each of them took turns to dart in and peck the large bird, but their efforts only seemed to enrage it. The difference in size between them was considerable. The biggest looked almost as large as Mother. The three birds squawked and cawed as they thrashed about in the air. Feathers flew in all directions, leaves were stripped from branches and joined the falling plumage. Then it happened, something that gives Tiger nightmares to this very day. The monstrous bird suddenly flew straight into her and sent her tumbling over and over through the air. Small branches lashed and whipped at the kitten as she fell through the tree. Tiger's feline instinct suddenly woke and forced her back legs to rotate until their feet faced the ground. This movement brought the rest of her body around into its proper upright position. With legs splayed wide, the kitten grasped and clasped at every thin branch as they raced by. Her efforts helped slow her fall, but it was not enough to save her. That would be left to something else. Fortune dropped her into a particularly dense section of foliage, which rolled the kitten onto a thick branch. Tiger's balance was off, and she started to slip. Her claws dug in like never before, and only just managed to hold her fast. With a pounding heart and panting for breath, Tiger rapidly looked around for the fighting birds. They were still high above. Many levels of branch separated Kitten and the birds. She would be safe from their fighting for now. Even though the ground could not be seen, Tiger knew she was still high in the tree by the size of the branches around her. The trunk was behind her. Some way farther along the branch was a dark mass. Could that really be the squirrel's dray? It certainly looked similar. With the mother squirrel's words of welcome echoing in her mind, Tiger carefully made her way along the branch towards the dray. She would stay with them tonight, and they could help her reach the ground in the morning. This time fate had only teased her. This was no dray. It was a small, tatty nest balancing near the end of a branch. 3 ugly creatures inhabited it. Tiger could tell that they were birds from their pointed beaks, but that was the only feature that resembled birds as she knew them. They had almost no plumage, just small stubs of feathers on pink-grey skin. "Food!" shrieked one. "Food, food, food!" shrieked all 3. What a horrible sound. "I don't have any," Tiger said, hoping the information would calm these creatures. "Are you sure you don't have some?" asked one. "Check your gizzard," said another. "You may have forgot," added the third. Tiger looked at the 3 expectant faces. "I'm sorry," she said, "but I have no food. I didn't even have breakfast today, and I'm ever so hungry. Can you fly and find some?" Gasps of shock erupted from the 3 gaping beaks. "With these?" exclaimed the middle one as it lifted its wings. The raised limbs looked like little sticks that had been bent too far and snapped. As the other 2 copied the pose, Tiger noticed their bulbous bellies. They can't be that hungry, she thought. "Chicks of our age cannot fly," said the middle chick with a slow shake of its head, as if the statement was so obvious it need not have to be said. All 3 chicks lowered their immature wings. A crash came through the foliage just a few feet away. Tiger gripped the branch as tightly as she could, and the chicks ducked down into the nest. One of the smaller birds was falling through the tree. It crashed and bashed into a number of branches as it plummeted towards the ground. The large bird silently landed behind the kitten. Tiger's instincts were alert and felt the vibration suddenly ripple through the branch. She scampered over to the nest, joined the chicks, and looked back. 4 young pairs of eyes stared up at the feathered fiend in horror. Tiger noticed there was something different about this bird. Its eyes faced forward from a flat face, and between them was a horrific hooked beak. The other birds the kitten had seen always had eyes on the side of their head and their beaks pointed forward, whereas the yellowish beak before her looked more like a weapon for ripping and tearing flesh. This bird was a hunter. The 3 chicks cowered behind Tiger. One nervously chirped, "This nasty owl has already eaten 2 of us." The huge owl cackled with laughter, making it sound like a witch. Taking 3 large hops towards the nest, it menacingly said, "And with your parents gone again, I'm going to eat you all." Craning her neck back, Tiger looked up into those malevolent eyes. She felt the chicks trying to push themselves under her. More cackling laughter came from the owl. "What's this? A puny catling in a nest? You're far too small to be out hunting. Get lost, did you? What a horrible little thing you are. I shall have to eat you too." Tiger ignored the remark. She was scared, and the difference in size was vast. But she reminded herself she was a hunter. She was a cat, and everyone knew cats hunt birds. The owl's head came closer with its beak open wide. When it was just about to grab a chick, Tiger lashed out faster than the frog's tongue. Her razor-sharp claws passed through the bird's feathers and found their mark. The owl screeched and leaped back in shock. A few small feathers were snagged in Tiger's paw. She lifted it to her face and blew on her claws. The feathers came loose and gently fluttered through the air. If it was not for the deadly contest between cat and bird, the sight of the fluffy feathers would have conjured thoughts of a gentle winter's snow. With a hop and a slash, the owl tried to gash the kitten with its terrible talons. It missed. Tiger's mind had switched into something else. No longer was she a frightened kitten far from home. She was now a predator beast with a single thought: cats hunt birds. The owl lashed out at the kitten with those awful hooked feet, but it was too slow and missed Tiger, who quickly moved back. The bird beat its powerful wings to put itself above the nest. It dived down at the young ones with outstretched claws. Tiger jumped to one side and narrowly avoided getting caught, but in doing so, she had exposed the fledglings. One of them was snatched up by the owl. The puny baby bird stood no chance. As the owl lifted those great wings ready to swoop up and away with its catch, Tiger raised herself upright with her front legs spread wide and her needle-sharp claws ready. Left swipe, right swipe, and then a particularly vicious down motion with both. Each attack dug deep into the owl's leg. The bird of prey dropped the chick into the nest, then disappeared through the branches above. Tiger noticed small drops of red liquid on her claws. She licked it. Her eyes changed. She was the ultimate hunter, and she was hungry. Cats hunt birds. Tiger looked at the pathetic chicks cowering to one side of the nest. Food! The chicks stared at the kitten in horror. They tried to back away, but there was nowhere for them to go. Tiger took a few small steps towards the sobbing birds, her mouth slowly opening. Then something inside her changed. Her rapid breathing calmed, her racing heart relaxed, and her claws retracted. Tiger was not going to eat the helpless chicks. A crashing of leaves alerted Tiger. She turned to see the owl diving straight at her with talons leading the way. Rather than trying to dodge the attack, Tiger stood tall, ready to strike back. The spiked fur and outstretched front legs with sharp claws at the ready must have proved too much for the owl. With a shriek of rage, the owl swooped away just as it reached the nest. It could still be heard screeching as it disappeared into the distance over the pine woodland. "You saved us," said one of the chicks. "You weren't really going to eat us?" asked another. Tiger looked down at the worried faces. "No," she said, "I just want some milk." "Our parents will be back soon. They might feed you," suggested the third little chick. Tiger liked the sound of this. "They'll be back," said the first. "They hide when the fight gets too much for them." As if on cue, a chirp sounded high above. Instantly, the 3 chicks squawked and cheeped in unison. A small bird joined them in the nest. Immediately, it started to peck Tiger. The kitten resisted the assault and did not strike back. "Wait!" screamed one of the chicks. "Stop!" shouted another. "The catling saved us from the owl," explained the third. The bird looked warily at the kitten, then back to the chicks. "What's going on?" the bird asked. The 3 chicks started to gabble and chatter over one another. "Stop, stop," said the bird. "I can't understand a thing when you all talk at once. Just one of you, please." One of the chicks then explained in exceptional detail how Tiger fought the owl and eventually caused it to flee. Before any of them could turn their attention to Tiger, the second parent appeared. It was in a terrible state. Dishevelled feathers stuck out in all directions. "Dad," cried one of the chicks, "I thought you were done for when you went down." "So did I, lad, so did I." And to illustrate his point, the bird spread his short wings as wide as he could. A number of flight feathers were missing or badly broken. "They'll grow back," he said, "but the bump to my head is making me see things." "What are you seeing, dearest?" asked the mother with a concerned voice. "Oh, nothing much really. Just a small cat sitting in our nest. My noggin took a fair whack just now. I think I need to sleep it off." "Your eyes are fine, dear. I was just learning how this catling saved you from having to make another nest, and me from doing likewise with another clutch of eggs." The bird tentatively used the end of his wing to reach out and touch Tiger. "Well then, we have a cat in our nest," he said, almost as though he knew not what else to say. "Will you be staying long, catling?" Tiger bashfully looked down. Having 5 pairs of eyes gazing at her suddenly made her feel shy. The kitten noticed red spots of liquid on her toes again. She started to wipe them clean, pretending to not notice the attention. Then she realized the mother and father had much greater injuries. Their chests were covered in red too, and a lot of it. She looked up and asked, "Does it hurt?" "What's that, catling?" asked the mother. "You have blood all over your cheeks and chest." The 3 chicks instantly burst into laughter. The mother bird returned a kindly smile, and the father bird tried to look down at his chest, which made the chicks laugh even harder. "We're robins," said the mother in a gentle tone. "This is our natural colouring. We start out grey, and then we get these new colourful feathers as we reach adulthood." Nodding sagely, Tiger hoped the others did not hear a tummy rumble. "That's not a good sign," said Mr. Robin. "A hungry cat in a tree." "It's okay," said Tiger. "I only drink milk." "I could catch you a worm if you like." "Worm, worm, viggly worm!" shrieked the chicks. "Now look what you've started," said Mrs. Robin with a sigh. "You're hurt, dear. I'll go." And with those words, Mrs. Robin flitted away from the nest. "So, will you be staying tonight?" asked Mr. Robin again. "We have room." Tiger looked at the nest in the tree and what little she could see beyond. It was getting dark. The sun was almost gone. Did she really want to be out there at night? She knew she had special cat eyes that helped her see in the dark, but what else had eyes like her? Perhaps something far bigger and more powerful that only came out at night. She had heard tales of a great nocturnal beast. It had a white head with 2 long black stripes that ran from its ears to its nose. Its claws were huge and made for a fearsome foe. The thought of encountering a badger set Tiger's mind. "I'll sleep here tonight, thank you." Thoughts of her home box felt far away in this moment. Kitten just wanted to rest. She had not had a mid-morning doze, a lunchtime nap, or even an afternoon snooze. And she still had to work out how to get down from the tree. She would wait for daylight. Shouts of "Worm, worm, viggly worm!" snapped Tiger out of her reverie. Mrs. Robin had just returned with a rather wiggly worm trapped in her beak. The kitten had never seen such a thing, and before Tiger could get a proper look at the squirming, squiggly thing, Mrs. Robin opened her beak wide and swallowed the worm. As Tiger wondered how the chicks were going to be fed the worm now that it was in their mother's tummy, one of her ears started to twitch. She had heard a faint but very distinct sound, and she was trying to locate it. Just as she was about to give up, she heard it again. This time there was no mistaking it. It was a tiny meow from another kitten.